Buckle up, folks, because today we're diving headfirst into some serious political drama.
Oh.
We're talking about a potential powder keg within the MAGA movement.
Sounds juicy.
It is.
I like it.
So Donald Trump,
Right.
he's gearing up for his second term as president in 2025.
2025, yep.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
Things aren't exactly harmonious in his camp.
Oh, I gotta hear.
Right.
It's not all sunshine and roses.
Not exactly.
So what's this?
What's the tea?
This isn't just your run-of-the-mill political infighting.
Okay, more than just the usual backstabbing.
Going more.
Yeah.
We're talking about a clash of ideologies within a movement that up until pretty recently was considered to be unified.
Interesting. It's like watching a family feud
It is.
play out on the national stage.
Exactly.
With the highest possible stakes.
Absolutely. And the crazy thing is, our main source for this deep dive is a news article from January 2025.
Oh, wow. So this is... And the headline...
Really recent stuff.
It is. The headline practically screams trouble.
Oh, okay. Give it to me.
MAGA Civil War sparks fears of chaotic Trump White House.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So we're talking about some serious potential fallout here.
Oh, absolutely. And the article really zeroes in on a specific clash.
All right. Lay it on me.
That thing speaks volumes.
I'm all ears.
Trump's billionaire tech supporters are at odds with his working class base.
Interesting. So like a real class war kind of situation.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay. I'm hooked.
And the issue driving this wedge, immigration policy.
Immigration. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Always a hot button issue.
Always.
Especially with this crowd.
Right. So we have Elon Musk, the world's richest man, squaring off against firebrand Steve Bannon.
Now that is a face-off I wouldn't want to miss.
All right.
Talk about a clash of titans.
I mean, the article even calls it oligarchs versus nativists.
Wow.
What do you make of that framing?
I mean, that's some pretty powerful imagery right there.
That is.
It really cuts to the chase, doesn't it?
It does.
It's like this fundamental tension we're seeing, not just within the MAGA movement, but across American politics in general. You know, you got this group of ultra-wealthy tech elites who often are in favor of more open immigration policies.
Right.
And then on the other side, you have the more populist working class base who feel threatened by those same policies.
Exactly. And to really set the stage for our listeners.
Okay, paint me a picture.
We're talking about the immediate aftermath of the 2024 election.
Okay.
Trump has just secured his second term.
He's back in the saddle?
He is. He is back.
You're right.
And already these cracks are starting to show within his base.
So the honeymoon's over before it even began?
Pretty much.
Wow.
And at the heart of this rift are these two very different figures.
Okay.
You've got Elon Musk, major Trump campaign donor.
Right. Put his money where his mouth is.
Exactly.
Okay.
And he has become a lightning rod for his views on immigration.
Musk. Yeah, he's never been one to shy away from controversy.
No, he hasn't.
All right, so immigration, what are we...
Specifically what are called skilled worker visas.
Okay, so these are the visas that allow companies to bring in foreign workers who have specialized skills.
Exactly.
Okay, so Musk and a lot of Silicon Valley argue that these visas are essential for businesses to thrive, to compete.
To stay on top.
To stay on top, global market, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
But on the other side of the ring, you've got Steve Bannon.
Ah, Steve Bannon.
As you might recall from Trump's first term.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
He's been a powerful voice in the MAGA movement from the very beginning.
Yeah, a real firebrand.
Yes, and he's not buying this whole...
skilled worker visa thing.
At all.
Not one bit.
Not one bit. In fact, he's leading the charge...
Against
Musk and other quote-unquote tech bros.
Okay.
Accusing them of putting their own interests above American jobs.
So it's that classic populist message, right?
Us
versus them.
It's exact.
Elites against the working class.
Yep. And Bannon's argument really taps into that America First sentiment.
Right. That was really the cornerstone of Trump's first campaign.
Absolutely.
That whole idea of putting American workers and American interests first resonated with a lot of voters.
A lot of voters.
And Bannon is saying these visas undercut that promise by taking jobs away from American citizens.
Exactly. And, this isn't just like some polite difference of opinion.
Oh, I figured as much.
No, the article describes some pretty heated exchanges.
Oh, yeah.
Between these two camps.
Things getting a little nasty.
Things have gotten quite nasty, actually.
I bet.
The article quotes Musk calling his critics, quote, contemptible fools.
Ouch.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming Bannon didn't hold back either?
Not at all. On his podcast, let's just say he didn't mince words.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Talk about a war of words.
A real war of words.
And in the middle of all of this, we have Trump.
Yes, and here's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm ready?
Because despite campaigning on pretty strict anti-immigration rhetoric during his first term.
Right, build the wall, all of that.
All of that.
Okay.
He's actually sided with Silicon Valley on this issue.
Really?
Yes.
So he's basically going against his own base on this one.
It seems that way.
Huh. That's a bold move, isn't it?
It is a bold move.
Especially for someone like Trump, who relies so heavily on that base.
You have to consider the timing of all of this.
Okay.
Right. He has just secured a second term.
True.
Maybe he feels more emboldened.
To make these kinds of moves.
To pursue policies that he believes will benefit the economy.
Even if they might alienate some of his base.
Exactly.
That's a risky gamble for any politician.
Especially for someone like Trump.
Yeah. He's playing with fire here.
He is.
So this is what makes this whole situation so fascinating.
It really does.
Trump's decision to side with Silicon Valley over his own base could have huge consequences.
Huge consequences.
Both for his presidency and for the future direction of the MAGA movement.
We're talking a high-stakes power struggle.
Absolutely.
All centered around this seemingly straightforward policy issue.
Skilled worker visas.
But as this deep dive is revealing...
There's so much more at stake here than just a policy debate.
Oh, way more.
This is about the heart of the MAGA movement.
It is.
What it stands for,
Yes.
where it's headed.
Exactly.
Will it embrace a more moderate, economically driven agenda, or will it double down on that nationalist, anti-immigration rhetoric that kind of defined its early years?
The million-dollar question.
That is the million-dollar question.
It really makes you wonder if this whole clash within MAGA is a symptom of a much larger shift happening in politics.
Yeah.
Not just in the U.S.,
right.
around the world, right?
It's definitely a global phenomenon.
Yeah, these populist movements gaining traction.
Yeah.
But then they get into power, and they have to grapple with...
the realities of governing.
Exactly. It's easy to make promises on the campaign trail.
Sure.
Much harder to actually deliver.
Especially when those promises appeal to different, often conflicting segments of your base.
And that's where the rubber meets the road, right?
It is.
Governing means tough choices.
You got it.
And tough choices mean alienating someone.
Always.
Always.
You can't please everyone.
And the article actually points out that this decision to side with Silicon Valley has raised eyebrows.
Oh, yeah.
Even among some of Trump's more moderate supporters.
It's interesting.
Like the article specifically mentions Nikki Haley.
Trump's former UN ambassador.
Right, and someone who's often seen as a potential future presidential candidate.
For the Republicans.
Exactly.
So she represents sort of that more traditional conservative viewpoint.
Yeah, more aligned with those free market principles, but maybe a little less comfortable.
Right.
With this idea of prioritizing the interests of billionaires.
Over the concerns of the working class.
Exactly.
So we're talking about a three-way tug of war here.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, I'm trying to visualize this.
So you have Trump trying to juggle economic growth with the expectations of his base.
Okay, got to keep the economy humming.
Right, got to keep those campaign promises.
Sure.
Then you have these traditional conservatives.
Like
Haley.
Who are wary of alienating blue-collar voters.
They know those voters are key.
Absolutely crucial.
Especially in those swing states.
Make or break.
Make or break.
And then, of course, you have that fiery populist wing of the MAGA movement.
Oh, yeah.
Led by Bannon.
Who are digging in their heels on this immigration issue.
They're not going to budge on this.
Not an inch.
So where do the experts think this is all headed?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. What does the crystal ball say?
Well, the article brings in some analysis.
Okay.
To try to make sense of it.
All right, let's hear it.
There's one analyst, Donald Neiman.
Okay.
And he actually gives Trump credit for broadening his coalition.
In this second election?
Yeah. He argues that Trump understands he needs to deliver on those economic promises.
Which means keeping the tech sector happy.
Exactly. Because
they're a huge driver of the U.S. economy.
Massive.
Can't ignore that.
You can't. But the article also presents a counter-argument.
Okay, I was going to say there's got to be another side to this.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, let's hear it.
Ultimately, Trump won't risk completely losing his base.
That's his bread and butter.
They got him where he is today.
They're the ones who show up at the rallies.
They're the diehards.
So what's the consensus?
What's the verdict?
I mean, is Trump going to stick with Silicon Valley, or is he going to throw them under the bus to appease his base?
I mean, if there's one thing we know about politics, it's that it's rarely predictable.
True that. Always a wild ride.
Always a wild ride. But the article does quote this guy, Jeff Leb.
Okay.
And he worked on visa reform.
Oh, wow.
In California during Trump's first term.
So he knows a thing or two about this.
He knows a thing or two.
Okay.
And he suggests that maybe Trump can appease both sides.
To some extent.
To some extent.
All right, I'm intrigued.
So how could he possibly thread that needle?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Right.
Because these seem like pretty diametrically opposed positions.
They do. But Lester's point is that if Trump continues to emphasize other aspects of immigration reform,
like
those that really appeal to his base, border security, stricter enforcement,
the things that got him elected in the first place.
Exactly.
Okay.
Maybe, just maybe, they'll overlook
his stance on these skilled worker visas.
It's a trade-off.
A classic Trump maneuver.
A little give and take.
Right. Throw a bone to the tech industry.
But still maintain that image.
As tough on immigration.
Exactly.
It's a delicate balancing act.
It is.
But if anyone can pull it off...
It's probably Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's made a career out of defying expectations.
He really has. But let's say he does manage to keep everyone happy.
For now.
For now.
Right, because this whole episode has exposed some pretty serious fault lines.
Oh, absolutely.
Within the MAGA movement.
What does that tell us about its long-term prospects?
It raises some big questions about where the movement goes from here and how it fits within the Republican Party as a whole.
Huge questions.
Is this the beginning of a more moderate, pragmatic MAGA 2.0?
MAGA 2.0, I like that.
Or will it revert back
to
its more populist, nationalist roots?
And how does Trump navigate these competing forces within his own movement?
Right, because this oligarchs versus nativists framing that the article uses is really interesting.
Yeah.
It suggests this isn't just an internal MAGA squabble.
Yeah.
It reflects a deeper societal divide.
Is tension between the wealthy elite and the working class.
That's been simmering for a long time.
A long time.
And figures like Trump and the success of the MAGA movement have brought it to the surface.
They've really tapped into something.
They have.
So for our listener who's trying to make sense of all of this.
Yeah, because it is a lot to process.
We've got these powerful players, clashing ideologies.
You got it.
And a president who seems to be walking a tightrope.
Trying to keep everyone happy.
Trying to thread that needle.
It's a tough job.
The key takeaway here, I think,
is
that the MAGA movement is a lot more complex
than it might appear.
Than it appears from the outside.
From the outside looking in.
Right.
It's easy to make assumptions.
It is easy to just put people in these neat little boxes.
Right, but the reality is always messier.
Always messier.
And there are different factions.
Within the MAGA movement.
Competing interests.
Competing interests.
Different ideologies, all vying for influence.
And Trump is trying to navigate all of that.
He's got his work cut out for him.
He does.
So his second term will likely be defined by how he handles those internal divisions.
So we're watching a political drama unfold in real time.
We are.
And what makes it even more compelling is that the stakes are incredibly high.
The stakes couldn't be higher.
And Trump's decisions, like the one he's made on this visa issue, they're going to have ripple effects for years to come.
Absolutely. This is history in the making.
Feels like we've only scratched the surface here.
We really have.
So much more to unpack.
Oh, yeah. Tons.
When it comes to the MAGA movement.
He's a whole world unto itself.
It is.
Yeah.
And its impact on American politics.
Right. Because this isn't just some fringe group anymore.
No, not at all.
They have real power.
This deep dive, I think, has really shown how complex this movement is.
It's so easy to just...
to simplify it.
Yeah.
Put it in a box.
See it as this homogenous group with one goal.
Right. But what we've seen is...
a much more nuanced picture.
So much more nuanced. It's not a monolithic block.
Nope.
There are all these different factions.
Competing interests, ideologies.
All vying for influence.
And Trump is trying to balance all of those competing forces.
Walking that tightrope.
It's a high wire act for sure.
It is.
Every decision he makes.
Like this one on the visas.
Yeah.
Could upset that balance.
Throw everything off.
So for our listeners, let's try to connect the dots.
Okay, bring it all home.
We started with this clash between Trump's billionaire tech supporters.
Right. Musk and that crowd.
And his working class base.
The heart of the MAGA movement.
And this seemingly simple issue, visas for skilled workers.
Which has really exposed these deep divisions.
Deep divisions within MAGA.
And the Republican Party in general.
And we've heard from all these experts
weighing in
on the potential consequences
of Trump siding with Silicon Valley.
Some think it could push the Republicans
in a more moderate direction.
Others are worried it'll just further alienate his base.
It's hard to say for sure.
It really is. But what makes this even more fascinating and a little unsettling is that we're talking about a movement that has a huge impact on the direction of the country.
No doubt about that.
So where do we go from here?
Right. What are the big questions?
What should we be asking ourselves?
Yeah, as we watch this all play out.
I think one of the key questions is, what does this tell us about power dynamics within political movements?
Right. How much influence do big donors like Elon Musk really have?
Exactly, because their interests might not always align with the average MAGA voter.
Absolutely. And how do those competing interests shape the movement's agenda?
And there's the question of ideology.
Right, that tension between pragmatism and populism.
Which direction will MAGA go?
Will they become more moderate, more focused on economic growth?
Or double down on that nationalist anti-immigration message?
And how will Trump navigate these competing forces?
Big questions. And I think for anyone listening, think about how this conflict within MAGA might impact future decisions.
On all sorts of issues.
Trade, climate change, social programs.
The list goes on and on.
What does this tell us about the future of the Republican Party?
Will they embrace the MAGA movement fully?
Or will they try to distance themselves from its more extreme elements?
The MAGA movement, despite